Hiya, and welcome back to Password, the game that teaches us that the bacon is never willing to put up with Tyson without a fight. That is all I can come up with. Probably the second fastest intro I've ever done. Usually they take longer. Anyways, let's just hop right in. We wandered outside, the air feeling somewhat cool but fresh.
Fresh air does wonders for the appetite, Dean tells me.
But it's lunchtime anyway.
Yes, but you could do with more of an appetite, I imagine. When you're upset, you barely eat. So in that regard, I guess we both balance each other out.
I shot him a quick smile before eating my sandwich. Peanut butter, which was fine if the way it stuck to the roof of my mouth annoyed me sometimes.
So, what did you want to do with the rest of the day?
I don't know. Hang out?
Did you have anything in mind? Swim? Games? Could also maybe just go for a walk if you really wanted.
You? Walking? But I thought you hated exercise.
Well, yes, but I know you like going for walks. And that's worth putting up with, given I dislike you being upset even more. Maybe we could get you some nice rocks or something.
Rocks? Why rocks?
Oh, come now, Dave. I don't think that much has changed. I bet you still have every single one of those painted rocks in a shoebox under your bed.
I chuckled, knowing the very rocks he was talking about. Various bits and pieces that I'd picked up and painted over the years with various designs and faces. I don't have paint, but maybe?
Alternatively, a nice flower for your scrapbook, something to remember the vacation by.
My smile disappeared soon after, turning into a frown. Remembering this vacation was likely something that I wouldn't want to do depending on how much worse things got. Maybe. My tone gave me away, and Roswell took my hand, looking at me with an uncertain smile.
Oh, come on, Dave.
He shoved what was left of one sandwich he had into his mouth, and put the other one into his pocket. Taking my hand in his, he led the way around the house towards the front. Hey, Roswell, stop pulling! Once we were by the front door, he let me go, dusting off his hands.
You know, I think walking all the way down to the main road might be a good goal. Might take a couple hours, too.
Really? That long?
Well, I'm not intending for this to be a quick walk. At least not at the pace I'm comfortable walking.
Well, okay, sure. We started wandering down the driveway, taking it slowly as Roswell's shorter legs dictated the pace. Fucker's got cheese under legs. Not only that, but his enthusiasm or lack thereof in taking a walk was also slowing us down. But it was nice, my eyes darting about the place while I just listened to nature. Occasionally I would look at Roswell, who seemed to be lost in his own mind, thinking about something, but staying quiet all the same. It made me think back to when we just sat outside the back door and kissed, the conversation we had on his bed about love. He loved me but didn't know in what way? What did that mean?
Dave.
When I pulled myself out of my own thoughts and looked to Roswell, he had his eyes trained on something off to the side. Something far off into the distance among the trees. What's up?
We're not alone. At least I don't think so.
What do you mean, who's here? I listened out, trying to pick out anything from the sounds of the surrounding forest, but couldn't make out anything specific. Anything significant. Fuck. His attention stayed on whatever it was that he saw, and I wandered closer to follow his gaze. But nothing, as far as I could tell, was there.
I thought I saw it again, the white thing.
Same thing that you saw the other day?
Yeah, I don't know. It's almost as if it was just...
He scratched his chin, shaking his head.
Whatever it was, it isn't there anymore. I guess it's not that important.
You're sure?
Even if I wasn't, there's not a whole lot I can do about it now anyway. It's the same even if I didn't know what it was. Tackling something like a ghost is involved.
Involved how? Roswell shook his head, wandering further down the driveway with me in tow.
We could get a Ouija board and try talking with it maybe. Or with enough salt we could potentially get rid of it that way. Or a laser gun.
But this is all assuming it's a ghost, right? What it was, like, I don't know, some sort of other thing.
Such as...
I thought about it, scratching my chin as we walked. Nothing came to mind, so I shot him a conflicted look along with a shrug. Fuck, can't speak.
Maybe it'd be best to start bringing some sort of weapon with us if we go into the forest then. Maybe some sort of hunting knife? Or an axe?
Why those?
Well, I know one of those is in the greenhouse, And I'm sure someone would have a knife around here given we're surrounded by dense woodland.
I suppose that makes sense. Hiya. Ah! We continued walking in silence for a bit, with the trees becoming more scarce the further we went. A little while longer and the trees parted entirely, leaving us at the main road. Oh! I pushed forward a little more eager upon seeing things open up. The other side of the road seemed to be a sheer cliff with the rest of the mountain range rolling out beyond. The woods were thick even on the other mountains nearby, and I finally got an idea of just how high up we were. We're so high up!
Yeah, if you hadn't fallen asleep on the bus, you probably would have seen it sooner, but yeah.
Oh man. Looking out at the world from the edge of the driveway, I looked down the road. Not seeing that the driveway was the last thing that led here. So, following this road would take us back home, right?
Yep, this is the only road that leads up the mountain. Only way up by car, anyway. I'm sure if you really wanted off the mountain, you could go through the forest, but you'd still need to navigate down some sort of steeper parts.
I nodded slowly, looking back at the way we walked. Why do you think the mansion was built all the way up here? So out of the way?
Who knows? Maybe they just really like their privacy, or maybe they got it cheap. Maybe they were up to no good and picked somewhere that'd just be a pain to get to.
Also seems like it'd be a pain to escape from if things were to go wrong.
What makes you say that? Scared something might happen?
That struck a chord with me, making me feel a little sick.
Sorry, I didn't mean... What I meant by is that whatever you can think of happening, there's enough things in place that someone would have already thought about it and found a solution.
Like what? If we're the only ones up here, then what do we do?
If there's any sort of natural disaster, you could always radio for help. With phones and the internet, a lot of that seems kind of pointless. If we were a bit more remote, that might be a different issue, though.
I nodded slowly, looking back at the world below. Did I ever thank you for organizing this trip, Roswell?
I honestly don't remember. It was no big deal, though.
Well, just in case I didn't, thanks.
You're welcome, Dave. But tell me something.
Huh? What is it? He stared at me for a bit, watching me carefully as I stood there in the middle of the road.
Is this helping at all? Am I ever going to see the old you again?
My eyes widened for a second before it sank in what he meant, my heart dropping in my chest along with the corners of my mouth. I don't know.
But I thought...
He left his comment there, staring out at the mountains much like I'd been doing before.
I don't understand. This is what I assumed.
What did you assume?
I assumed that eventually you'd forget and just...
He hadn't even finished speaking before his comment had lit a fire somewhere in me, sparking a rage that I was unfamiliar with. You thought I'd forget about my dad dying? Took a step towards him, fist clenched.
No,
You thought that just because you wanted me to be happy again, that it just happened because you wanted? That this vacation would magically fix everything?
That's not what I meant.
Then what did you mean, Roswell? What could you have possibly meant that was meant to make me feel better?
Listen to yourself. What's gotten over you, Dave? You're more rational than this.
And what would you know about who I am, Roswell? You've been back in my life, what, a couple years, and you think you know everything about me?
I know that you're not normally a jerk, Dave. I'm just going to put this down to you being stressed out over what happened last night.
Stop talking like you know about that too. You don't know everything, Roswell.
I never said I did. I just don't...
We stared at one another, my breathing slowly leveling out, but by the time that it had, Roswell spoke.
I'd hoped that this would make you forget about being sad. I'd hope that this would be a distraction that you could hold onto as a nice memory. But if you want to snap at me for trying, then fine. You're right. I don't know the person you were between when I moved away and when I came back. For all I know, you're just someone who...
Aw, fuck. Aw, fuck, we upset the bacon. He sniffed, wiping his face on his arm and sighing out. I didn't know where that left us, as the pair of us just stood there in silence, not looking at one another. Just give up, Dave. Let them die. Was that what my consciousness was telling me? To just give up? To let them die? Roswell? He'd taken a stand near the edge of the road, looking out in a daze. When I said his name, he slowly turned to look at me before his eyes dipped down to the asphalt.
Yeah?
I'm sorry. He sighed out, his morale shot just from the tone of his voice.
I know. But you're not the only one that gets sad. Just remember that.
He turned to leave and I reached out to stop him, but I couldn't bring myself to following through. Just standing there as he wandered back up the driveway and out of sight. Let whatever happens happen. I found myself just staring at the spot that Roswell disappeared among the trees, wondering just how long it'd take him to get back. My hand went to my chest and I felt sick, as if something had stabbed me in the gut and was twisting the knife, hurting in a way I hadn't felt before. I should have been crying. I should have been reacting more than just standing there whining softly to myself. Some of my earliest memories involved Roswell, to the point my memories blurred as far as where they stopped from where he left and where they started again. Dad thought he was a little strange but funny, and Mom liked talking to him from what I remembered. The more I thought about it, the more I wondered if the Roswell that I knew was still the same Roswell I remembered from growing up. Maybe we were both just different people and neither of us had noticed. Was it all my fault for letting grief consume me and I was just taking it out on him? I wonder what would happen if I were to just take a few more steps backwards, close my eyes, and fall over the edge of the road. If that would just make everything better. Or if I saw Roswell in the vault again, to just not get involved. In either instance, my stomach lurched and I took a few steps away from the edge and collapsed to my knees. Minutes ticked by as I was there in the dirt, thinking things over. But eventually I had to get up and make my way back to the house. I trudged the length of it alone with my thoughts, occasionally glancing into the trees to see if I could see what Roswell had noticed on the way down. Tired, I eventually made it back to the mansion, and without seeing anyone on the way, made my way upstairs. And time for sadness. At some point, Orlando came in to check on me and mentioned I should eat something, but left when I said I wanted to be alone. He lingered but ultimately left quietly, not that I felt up for talking anyway. As I lay staring at the ceiling, though, something was prodding me somewhere in the back of my mind. Nothing had happened today, but something was urging me to do something. I sat up and looked around, checking my phone, wondering if I'd forgotten something. Let them die. I was getting sick of that voice in my head telling me that I should just let my friends die. But then it occurred to me that there was something in this very house that could help with that. Something that, as far as I knew, was the only lifeline I had. The vault, but... Looking around again, I wondered if someone was watching me, or if someone had done something to make me think of it, but the question still lingered in my mind. Should I go? Should we visit the vault? I don't know. Yeah. Dave being kind of an asshole. Visit the vault. Hang on, I'm gonna check a couple things. Okay. To Discord. Ah! Discord, where are you? Alrighty. Spoilers. Maybe, please. Pinned messages. Okay. Thought about it again and wondered if there was anything really problematic about me just paying a little visit to it. Not only that, but if I was going to be meeting with Oswin, the topic might come up anyway, right? Creeping out of my room, I wandered downstairs. I could hear other people in the house, happy voices that seemed to be interacting nicely with one another. I couldn't tell who it was, but I continued on downstairs. By comparison, the basement was cold, dark, and quiet. I flicked on the light and wandered over to the one room I was interested in. That wasn't to say I didn't look around for any other doors. What had happened this morning was still something I was conscious of. And there it was, standing before me. I sighed out, stepping closer and reaching out. The moment my fingers brushed the input panel, I closed my eyes and waited. Metempsychosis. There was a chime and I tensed up before sharp pain made my knees buckle. I hit the floor soon after. My mind was racing, pain coursing through my side from where I assumed I had landed on the floor. Oswin in somewhere. An office? There was the word, but what did it mean? Why? Had it just mashed buttons and made up a word? I came to on the floor of the vault, the room spinning as it came back into focus. Groaning, I picked myself up, bracing myself on the wall while my breathing leveled out. My body hurt, but if I saw what I did, there had to be a reason. Stumbling back to my room, I splashed myself with water and let the clock run down until the meeting. And then it was time. Hi, bitch. Can I ask you something before you do? He raised a brow, curious. Can it not wait? It won't take long. I scratched my neck, suddenly feeling itchy. Was it just nerves? Was it because of the tiredness? You're not going to show me a piece of paper with a word on it, are you? Maybe I'd hit a nerve, or maybe it was that he was just taken aback. A word? What word? Held over what I'd seen in the vault, mouthing the word to myself before speaking quietly. Metempsychosis? Slowly, he pulled a piece of paper out of his pocket and unfurled it, showing me the thick red lines that made up the word. How? What do you mean? How did you know what I was going to show you? How did you know this word? Do you know what this word means? I shook my head, staring at the paper, then to him, my mouth feeling dry. Thanatos, make note of this for me later. Who? I'm Dave, so... My pet rat, well, lab assistant, it's complicated. But tell me how this has happened. I don't know, I went to the vault before coming here and... He slammed the piece of paper down and looked thoughtful. Darn it all, Florencia. Who? My sister. But that's not important right now. Well, that decides it for me. What does? You knowing of that word, you know that word, but don't know what it means. You predicted that I was going to show you it as well. Not only that, but how you were standing it was kind of the same. He tensed up, looking me over. I wrote this word down for a very specific reason, a way to test if this was all just some strange occurrence, or if it was actually something measurable. But didn't you say the vault relied on trauma? That's right. But what was traumatic about telling me that word? Well, naturally, I'd need to simulate some sort of shock to your system to mark the event as traumatic. I had a syringe prepared with a saline solution, and was going to use Thanatos as a distraction to inject you while you weren't looking. But that's terrible! Come now, it wouldn't have done you any harm, and if anything, would have made you feel less dehydrated. A needle in the ass. Okay, then. Yeah, that's fine. Because it's like a needle in the ass cheek. Besides, that's something that never happened. You're wrong. Pardon? If I was able to use the word in the vault, then that would mean that would have had to happen in another timeline or something, right? I'll pretend to entertain the thoughts of alternate timelines for the sake of your explanation, but I assure you there's only one. Granted, you're likely to see it right. You're likely right in that it did happen. You told me to trust you. Have I done anything of the sort to make you do otherwise? My eyes narrowed and I grumbled. Injecting me doesn't give me a lot of faith, Oswin. Never said it was the ass to go. God damn it. I'm going to leave that there. Injecting me doesn't give me a lot of faith, Oswin. True, but outside of that, what if I were to offer you something even the scale, as it were? Such as what? How will I know if you'd follow through on any promise either? Then how about I reveal myself to your friends? Would that suffice? For the sake of full disclosure, I was planning on doing it anyway. How would something that you were going to do anyway prove to me that you're trustworthy? I stood up from the chair in a huff, irritated. I'm leaving. I turned to leave, burying my hands in my pockets. Funny, isn't it how, despite piecing this together, you still came to meet me tonight? I stopped in my tracks, thinking of a witty comeback, but he had a point. If seeing what I did was traumatic enough to warrant seeing in the vault, why did I go? Nah, I think he said worse. I think he has said worse. You're curious and mean well, and some people take advantage of that. I've been considering taking advantage of it myself if there weren't more pressing matters. What's your point? I'm not going to say we're alike, but we do have similar things that drive us. Curiosity is merely the catalyst that speeds the process along. I turned to face him, frowning. And what would you say drives me, huh? I'm just some guy that got wrapped up in this whole science thing. To top it off, I've been seeing my friends dying and it sucked. I can only imagine. But for that very reason is why I sympathize. Watching someone die, especially before their time, is tragic, regardless of age. What do you mean? You know what I mean, or you should if you were paying attention a few nights ago. But as a doctor, you see it often. Things out of your control, and sometimes the best thing you can do is let them die in peace. I scoffed, throwing my hands up. That's meant to make me feel better? I've been hearing that inside my head most of the day. I didn't say it was the thing you should do. Far from it. If you can save their life, sometimes it's worth the momentary pain. My license may have been revoked, but I have never once broken my Hippocratic oath, Dave. I don't intend to either. Despite the uncertain feeling I had, I lingered, wanting to hear more. Why are you telling me this? The reason I chose that word, Dave, is its meaning. Metempsychosis. I clutched my head, something lingering in the back of my mind as if I were remembering something. It's, something, the soul... There was a brief pain in my head, fleeting and searing hot, but the moment I felt it, it was gone. Are you alright? I think so. My head hurt for a second there. He watched me with a careful gaze, thinking something over. Metempsychosis is, well, it's like you say, the transmigration of a soul to a new body after death. Something in the vein of reincarnation. You die and become as new in your next body. The soul remains the same, but, well, it's all highly philosophical. The reason it was this word was because if you did what you did, and remembered it from nowhere, well... He trailed off, looking to the side. What's happening to me? Like, what made me go to the vault? What's making me see these things? Why is it affecting me but no one else? If none of the others have messed with it, it's their own prerogative. If you keep going back, that's likely due to it subverting your friends, meeting an early end. Beyond that, why it works, well... I think it's best I let Thanatos explain that. I'm going to head into the lab and prepare something. I'll be right back. He wandered off into the side room, flashing me a smile over his shoulder before ducking out of sight. Hey! Huh? As I looked to the desk, a rat wandered out and stood facing me on the desk. Hi, bitch! You never seen a talking rat before? I noticed a speaker on his collar, but this rat couldn't really be talking, could he? No, sorry, can't say I have. Are you Thanatos? That I am, and yeah, well, chances are you aren't going to after me. Oh. Well, his beady eyes stared up at me as his ears twitched and tail lashed behind him. Hiya. So, you want to know how the vault works, huh? Well, that's what Oswin said you'd do, anyway. Nah, he said why it works. Which I can do fine, but first you're gonna tell me something. Tell you what? That dragon friend of yours, yeah? Orlando Noble? What about him? You know what his family does for a living, right? Yeah, why? Thanatos stood still, searching my face before cracking a smile. Sure. Well... He scratched himself behind his ears briefly before looking up at me. Master said the vault works on genetic memory, yeah? That morphic resonance stuff? Sure. Well, you still need a code in the person to be affected, yeah? A little bit of DNA will do the trick. What does this have to do with Orlando? Did you take some of his and code him in? Thanatos looked past me to the entry of the other room, as if checking if Oswin was coming back. His voice was lower, even as it came through the speaker next as he spoke. His dad is... What? Took some of that bastard's scales and figured I'd see what would happen. Wait, but if Orlando got the vault to work, he's one half of his dad, so yeah, guess that's enough. The realization dawned on me. As far as I knew, no one had taken my DNA, so the reason the vault worked for me was... Wait, so did you get my DNA from my dad too? Oi! Keep your voice down! Haha. The moment Thanatos had told me to be quiet, I heard footsteps behind me. Stealing a look back at the desk, I managed to catch the tip of the rat's tail disappearing into the darkness and out of sight. Are you alright? I heard yelling. Oh, I'm fine, just, I looked back at the desk again to where Thanatos was standing before looking back at Oswin. Thanatos told me that, Orlando's dad... He sighed and shook his head before rubbing one of his tusks. Did he now? I'll have to scold him later for giving away specifics. But why? That dragon is a dangerous man. It's best if, well, it's just best that we don't pay too much mind on his involvement. Isn't it a bit late to be saying that now that I already know? You have me there. Very well. The noble family and mine have had dealings in the past, as would any family with a lot of wealth. Granted, most deals aren't exactly the most legal, but with that much money you can make the law enforcement look the other way. Or the court system. I went to go say something, but he cut me off, continuing his thoughts in stride. That isn't to say that it's the right thing to do, but it is something that happens a lot. My interactions with his family have been few and not quite all that pleasant, but they're a necessity. Necessity? Necessary how? Especially if you don't like them. It's a sad reality of the adult world. You'll be forced to interact with people you dislike as just part of your day-to-day routine, be it work or otherwise. In any case, there was some level of interest in getting the vault to work and was asking about it after Reginald died. Was wondering if it was something he could buy. And, obviously not. I love my brother and sister and it's rightfully theirs. I wouldn't sell it to a man like that even if I was in a dire financial state. I nodded slowly, thinking it over. I'm guessing, too, that if it worked you, Correct. I wouldn't want something like that in the hands of a terrible person. Someone nicer, perhaps, but this was all assuming it worked. Something that I didn't have confirmation on until now. Anyway, I have something to show you. What is it? He sat down what looked to be a gun on the desk next to me, a vial of something clear sloshing about attached to it near the top. Oh, fuck. Is that the thing that killed Orlando that one time? You know, when we saw the Durg dead? This is called a pneumatic injector. Similar to a normal syringe in that it'll inject what you load into the top, but with compressed air so that it's delivered quickly. Also handy for delivering medicine to those with hard scales or scutes, like your crocodile friend. My eyes were trained on the clear liquid loaded into the injector, not taking my eyes off it as I asked my question. What's loaded in there now? That'd be the saline solution I told you about before. Do you want me to prove it? I could inject you with it. And if it's poison, then I'll inject myself. I'm fine either way if you're that curious. Who are we injecting? Yep, it is chaotic. So, you know, normal fucking Sunday activities. Who's gonna get stabbed with liquid? Okay, so we got one for don't inject, one for the yin, and one for injecting the taller bacon. Yeah, let's do a little save. That fuck. Alrighty. We got one for each. Next vote breaks the tie. Whose ass is getting injected? Oh shit, my ass is getting injected. Well, goddamn. But in all seriousness, who's actually getting injected? Get hydrated, bitch. Oh, goddamn, I guess it's us.
It's time to drink water. It's time.
Hang on, I'll be right back.
It's time to drink water. It's time to drink water.
Alrighty, and I'm back, and we're not injecting anyone. I shook my head, eyes falling on the gun. I'm curious, but what? I don't think you need to prove it. A memory from a few nights ago came to the surface of my mind as I tried to find the words to explain it. You said that these things that I see in the vault are things I've lived through, right? I did. Why? Then whatever you injected me with, I would have survived. Sounds reasonable. That isn't to say, like, that proves what's in there is something harmless, but that maybe I got an antidote for it after? That also stands to reason. After all, we're in a lab, so finding something of the sort isn't beyond the realm of possibility. Right, so no matter what happens, injecting that won't do anything as far as proving anything. Oswin scratched his chin, a smile forming on his face. Color me impressed, Dave. All things considered, I assumed you would have wanted me to inject myself as a sign of good faith. Oswin breathed out, looking off to the cabinet, off to the side. One last thing, Dave, then we'll call it for tonight. I followed his gaze over to the cabinet, frowning. Something in there? A fucking telegram. Something of the sort. That cabinet holds some dangerous things. Plus some not-so-dangerous things, too. But someone's been in here. Things are missing. But wouldn't Thanatos have seen who it was? You're right, he should have, but for whatever reason he didn't. Benson doesn't know either. I have no reason to believe either of them would be disloyal to me, however, creating the problem. How big of a problem is it? What was taken? A few very choice chemicals, some medicine, while we're at it, various DNA samples. That's kinda gross. Dave, I'm talking about fur and alike. Nothing as far as more intimate samples. But I digress. There's little reason why someone would take them, at least as far as I can tell. Why are you telling me this? The things I were taking could be very dangerous, so I caution you about strange substances you come across. I'll be around as a safety net, but just in case I'm not around at the time, be careful. Alright. But for now, why don't I show you the way out? It's a long time the both of us got some rest. Falling asleep was hard, but it happened eventually. My mind was racing, wondering about what the next day would bring, and how the others would react to Oswin. Not to mention everything that he told me about stuff missing from the lab. Wait, are we still on path A? Yep, we're still on path A. Roswell had always looked out for me, tried his best to distract me with tricks or games. Or if they weren't working, he'd just start talking about something complicated that he found interesting. You don't change until someone dies. Ah, shit, and no one's died. Fuck yeah. He'd keep me distracted, maybe so that I wouldn't get lost in my own sadness about everything that I was missing. Maybe in doing that, I'd forgotten that he could get upset too. Started with the oinker, but yeah. Asked us what we thought was happening with you and told us about the walk you guys took. He told you that? Told us that he put this together to try and get you to forget about being sad. The fuck does he think he is? Assuming some fucking vacation is going to make you forget. Maybe he means well though, right? Ty shrugged and settled back against the back of the sofa, scratching his chest. What do you think? He's your friend. I don't know. Well, if you want to know what I think, I say fuck him. He doesn't know you like I do. Huh? Okay, bitch. I grumbled, looking down at my coffee. It went alright. I didn't like what he had planned, though. Only avoided that because I'd gotten lucky. Lucky? Well, I had a feeling I should go to the vault before meeting him, and, well, I gestured over my coffee, hoping he'd fill in the blanks. Thankfully, he seemed to follow, nodding slowly. I see the master is up to his old tricks. Not that they are very entertaining, so I'll have to give him a stern talking to. Last time we did this, you said you were going to bend him over your knee and smack his ass. So, I mean, that's stern talking to, I guess. I don't know. Don't you work for him, though? That's complicated, Dave. The nature of our relationship is muddled beyond just a master and servant. In what way? The old master of the house was, put simply, a lacking father. Raising the 3 siblings was a handful, but not something beyond my capabilities. They weren't that young, but inquisitive minds, as they are proved trialing. Spank the bacon. Nah, spank the tall bacon. The bacon is Roswell. The tall bacon is Oswin. And Benson would just not even think about it twice if he had to. Just give him a good old, wait, fuck, that was sad. Let me just... I may be on his payroll, but in truth I'm much closer to a family member. Oh, I see. I'm sorry, I can't get past that one fucking line. Again, father figure. I've been down that way before, all the way to the main road, in fact. I remembered how high up we were, how breathtaking the view was, but beyond that, there wasn't anything to really see. Oh, fuck. Is this where we fucking meet Jack and then almost die because he's a sociopath with a knife? My pace became irregular as I passed the spot Roswell spotted whatever it was in the forest. What was it that you saw? Oh, goddammit, daddy figure. Ah! Looking through the trees, I tried to see if I could spot whatever it was. Yet another mystery on this vacation, given it's not the first time that it had shown up. That seemed to be a common thing about this vacation. Various things repeating with no real explanation. The whole vacation was Roswell's idea, and as I got closer to the end of the driveway, guilt started to creep in. He really was trying his best, and I hadn't exactly been fair to him. Roswell loves me. Repeating the revelation to myself made the guilt all that stronger. I didn't tell him about inviting Tyson. He was looking out for me, and I'd been overly critical to him, where the strongest reminder of that was remembering how he said other people could be sad too. There was every likelihood that he was just as upset about everyone leaving as I was. He was just better at hiding it. It was no different from when I was out here with Roswell, but the view was still breathtaking. Oh, right. Hidden rooms work sort of like bank... Hidden rooms work sort of like bank vaults, right? Part of me felt racist thinking that dragons would of course know better, but... And it was strange that Orlando just didn't follow. That entire... There's like 5 fatherless guys here, but only one of them actually lost their father. Yeah. Literally the only one here who is actually even remotely well adjusted is Dean. He's literally the only one here who's even remotely well adjusted because, like, let's see. Dave, his dad got killed. Roswell is Roswell. Tyson grew up in an abusive household, I think. Sal is... Well, I don't fucking know about Sal. Sal's Sal. Haas... Well, you know what? Scratch that. Haas and Dean are the only 2 people who are well-adjusted. Yeah. Oswin's eyes focused on me. His brow furrowed briefly before turning back to Orlando. Was he just curious about what I could do with the vault after last night? Rich, coming from you. You're going to inject me last night if I had messed with the vault. True, that was a surprise to say the least. Well, I haven't met Haas's dad, so... So, yeah, I think there's plenty to be gloomy about. This was meant to be a vacation. I wondered if Orlando would hate me for thinking of him right now. Not as a friend, but as a convenient heater. It made all the worse that he made a point of sacrificing his own happiness for mine, leaving me a mess of what to think. Obviously, I cared for Orlando as more than just a heater, and more than just a regular friend, too. Literally the only trauma that... Oh, this... I want to reread this whole thing. I'm going to reread this. Like, the whole conversation in the kitchen. I'm going to reread it, because it is beautiful. Pay him no mind, Master Dave. This is just Master Oswin sourcing his own breakfast. He straightened, setting a colorful box on the counter and sighing out. That boy's lucky there was another box. Perhaps this is a sign that you should leave the children's cereal for... The children, sir. I'm a grown man, and if I want sugar cereal for breakfast, then I'll be damned if I can't make that decision freely. But what about your teeth? Or eggs? Eggs? And Oh, He does have a point, sir. Scrambled eggs is something manageable. Chocolate cake. Chocolate cake? You're not having chocolate cake for breakfast. Why not? Do you really think that's an appropriate... Do you really think that's an appropriate meal choice for first thing in the morning? Why, glad you asked, Benson. I do. Really? Why? I thought cake was for dessert or whatever. Be that as it may, sir. I'm not making you chocolate cake for breakfast. Chocolate cake for breakfast is always slay. I've done chocolate cake for breakfast. It is fun. Then, sugar cereal. But now we're back to scrambled eggs, right? Did you want eggs, Master Dave? I quickly shook my head, heading over to the coffee machine instead to contemplate if I needed another cup or if I should go without. Dave, how are you feeling? Fine. You don't sound fine, my boy. Hang on, I will be right back. And I'm back. Chocolate cake for breakfast is always slay. Yeah. Roswell had mentioned finding a place to camp out when he was lost in the woods, so was this it? Ah, shit. It's Jack. The only person I knew to be out here was Roswell and whatever that white thing I saw was. Ah, fuck, it's this bitch. Hi, bitch! It wasn't a time machine, was it? Is that why the door hadn't opened? Was Oswin just lying about it? No, that couldn't have been it. Oswin had said the machine works on trauma. He said that everything just repeats over and over. So it's not letting you travel through time as much as just looking at what happened last time. This bitch. Oswin grunted, standing stiff. Was he the one that fired? How? From where? I opened my mouth to thank him and nothing came out. Feels like something you shouldn't do, like a mayonnaise sandwich. I'm going to keep my mouth shut about that. I'm going to keep my mouth shut about that. I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to comment anything. I haven't done it, and I'm not going to comment anything. Not the return of the mayo sandwich, oh no. He closed the door slowly behind him, eyes on me as he gauged what my reaction would be. My eyes narrowed as he approached the bed, sitting down. I expected him to say something, but instead we sat in silence for a few minutes while it seemed he tried to figure out what best to say. Are you alright? I went to speak but found myself clutching my chest, groaning in pain instead. I'll take that as a no. You were very lucky out there, Dave. A moment later on anything that happened and you'd likely be, well... He wasn't helping, and if anything, the pain in my chest was increasing the more he spoke. I should also apologize for injecting you as I did. None were too impressed that I was ready to sedate you the way I did, but I'd rather be disliked for a bit than risk you going into cardiac arrest. Birthday cake for breakfast is always great. Fucking right? It'd be a shame that after Benson intervened. I frowned at him, the pain in my chest slowly improving to more of a dull throb. While uncomfortable, it was sinking in that I was somewhere safer than what I was, however, long ago it was I'd arrived back at the mansion. I'm not helping, I know. However, I'm here of my own want. The others demanded I apologize, but I answered to no one. Well, except for Benson when I feel so inclined. He caught me smirking a little, taking it in his stride. That aside, I do want you to know you're safe. You've slept somewhat well through the night, as we've been taking turns watching over you. It's about mid-morning, no sign of him yet, although Benson's been keeping watch. My breath hastened as panic started to creep in again. Oswin catching the chance of my composure near immediately. Which I should say is a good thing given with Benson around, no harm shall come to you. I can't say why, but I can promise that's the truth. He placed a hand on my shoulder and rubbed it gently, although all it did was make me tense up, not that he seemed to care. I'm afraid to say it, Dave, today may be a bit rough. Your friends have many questions, and truth be told, so do I. We weren't out there. What happened? He pulled his hand away, and immediately I went to speak, finding my words catching in my throat. Run! As fast as you can! I clutched my head, groaning. The campsite, the mill, Jack. My hand instinctively went to the spot my hoodie pouch would have been to get the syringe for protection. If you're looking for what your friends found, they've confiscated it. I overheard Haas mentioning something about it, but didn't see what it was. Dave, believe me, it's taken me everything I have to not grill you for information now, but, well, I believe that after you've proven the vault works, I have little place to do so. Why? It hurt to talk. My throat was dry like I hadn't had water in days. Dave, if the vault worked the way it did, and you hadn't seen something that marked this event, then perhaps this wasn't traumatic enough? My fists tightened around the bedsheet. Hang on, I'm lowering my microphone volume. There we go. That's better. My fists tightened around the bedsheets, jaw clenched and baring my teeth at him. Or more accurately, this could be the result of someone else intervening? I didn't understand, frowning and trying to form another word, but instead falling into a coughing fit. Or it could just be a case of you not having the time to go potentially test the vault. You've been out of the mansion more than once in the last few days. Why hadn't I gone to the vault? Had I been that distracted to not warrant going to even check it? As I thought, I remembered wandering down to the main road the thoughts I had at the cliff, then again at the river. If the vault was keeping everyone alive, including myself, then why did I not use it back when I didn't want to survive? I whined, a throbbing in my chest sinking down to my stomach and back up again. Over and over to the point it made me feel sick. Dave, did you want me to leave? I didn't look at him, not really sure how to respond. Dave, you should rest. I could medicate you so you could drift off, but only if you need the assistance. Alternatively, I can just inform the others that you're still resting. Again, I stayed quiet. My decision came in the form of me laying back down and rolling over so I was facing away from him. Cuddling into my pillow in an attempt for comfort, I felt Oswin leave the bed and walk away. Only sure that he left the room when I heard the door open and then close once more. So sad. My fucking heart. This scene right here. This fucking scene. Just... my fucking heart. And lately, whenever I thought of home, there were other constants too, or at least there were way back when. Give the Yeen all the hugs. He needs all the hugs. I found myself sitting on the lawn, looking out at the street outside my house. The world seemed small, or at least I came to realize then and there that a lot of my normal stomping grounds only really involved a few key areas.
It's funny, isn't it?
What is?
You think of small and guess who comes out?
I felt a little guilty, but I was happy to see him. I don't see anything wrong with your height, though. You're just you.
That's right.
But I don't understand, Roswell. Why are bad things happening? Was it because of something I did, or is this a ghost or god thing? He shrugged, throwing me a look. Give him all the hugs.
No idea, but I'm also just a dream, so you'd be better off asking me when you're actually awake.
Why is it that you're sassing me even in my dreams?
If you knew this was a dream, why are you expecting any different?
It's not that I was expecting any different, really. I just find it comforting. Maybe because I get the impression that these sorts of things don't bother you so much so I can depend on you.
And when are you planning on telling me this? I already said that I love you, so maybe you should do the same. Say the same.
Ah! Do we want to agree with the bacon? Do we love the bacon? The bacon. Cover him head to toe with hugs. Obviously, we love the bacon. I nodded slowly with a sigh. It's true, maybe I should. At the very least in the same way you did.
Not a bad idea. After all, there are many kinds of love, right? Plenty of time to figure it out, too.
Eat the bacon. No! Don't eat the bacon! It seems too important to put it off any longer.
Important is a funny word. What does it mean that something's important? What does it mean if something is important to you but not to someone else?
I didn't realize that it could be so profound while I was asleep.
You sure that this isn't just you trying to imagine what I'd sound like?
Maybe I just want to talk to you again.
You'll get your chance, Dave. Just wait until morning comes.
Roswell, can we talk? Bacon, can we go have a conversation? Put me down as a maybe. Yeah, I'm gonna go help with breakfast given how hungry I am. I snuck into the kitchen, closing the door behind me the moment I spotted the other two.
See, I told you he wouldn't be far behind.
That's kinda creepy you had it down to the second. I looked between them confused. Must have shown because Orlando seemed all too ready to explain. Oh, the moment we got started, Rothwell mentioned that you'd be joining us soon. I didn't believe him, but he just started counting. And he got it down to the second?
I was a couple off, actually. If only I was that magical.
I think you're plenty magical. That toast was pretty magic, at least.
But I didn't make that last batch.
He gestured with a spoon, bowl cradled under his arm before he set both on the counter. Looking for more, Dave? Or to help. I haven't been this hungry in a while, so...
Hungry enough that you couldn't wait. You even left your coffee out there by the looks of things.
Oh! Don't worry, I can make you another cup. Rothwell, you almost finished mixing that yet?
Oh, right, not too much longer.
Grumbling, Rothwell went back to mixing, although he seemed to be trying to brush things along, earning him an eye roll from Orlando. I continued to stare at the back door, wondering what would have happened if Jack had just been a little faster, or if Benson had been a little slower. The thought caused a chill to run down my spine, cold enough that I was overcome by the sudden desire to just shake the feeling off. When I turned around, I noticed Roswell just standing there watching me with a calm smile on his face. How long have you been there?
Long enough.
And you didn't say anything.
I'd rather not spook you after what happened. You seem to be struggling enough with the prospect of going outside to have to worry about me piling onto that.
Doesn't stop you from piling onto Orlando. You know how he gets spooked.
And that's because Orlando's reactions are hilarious and it's all in fun. Much like how he pokes fun at me and my height, or putting my snacks up just out of reach that I have to get a chair to use as a boost.
Ninja bacon! Yeah, well, I guess it makes sense. I started to fiddle with my hands, looking back to the back door.
You're terrified about going outside, aren't you?
Is it that obvious?
Obvious would be a word, sure. Not that anyone could or really would blame you.
I don't know if it's outside or just the fear of dying that scares me more.
If I had to guess, it's probably the fear of death. That's a pretty normal reaction, after all.
How normal is normal?
Well, death is probably the most important thing for a lot of people. How much time we have left and stuff.
I smacked my pop filter. I just smacked my pop filter. Him using the word reminded me of the dream I had, and I trembled upon thinking about it more.
Would it help if we talked about it?
You'd be willing to do that?
It wouldn't be the first time, and I doubt it'll be the last time that I had to talk about death. If anything, it helps me out by talking too.
Help? How? Are you scared about dying too? Roswell's gaze dipped to the floor for a moment, and he shuffled uncomfortably on the spot. Eventually, though, he looked back to me with a quick nod, his voice held low.
Maybe not in the same way as everyone else, but yeah. Occasionally it keeps me up at night. But you know, everyone has a thing like that, so I guess it's not that abnormal. If it'll help you, though, we can easily go over it again.
That would be great, thanks, but where should we have the talk?
Where's the most comfortable for you? Bedroom, dining room?
My eyes wandered over to the room off to the side, and I pointed it out to him quietly. That place works. It's nearby, quiet, and I think the others will be upstairs watching a movie anyway. We made our way over, and as soon as Roswell had entered, I quietly closed the door behind him so we had some privacy. It's early. I know it's early, but gonna leave on a cliffhanger. We're gonna leave off here tonight. It's early, I know. Sneaky bacon. The sneakiest of all the bacons. Love him to death. Anyways, stay safe. Have a good night. Be sure to watch out for bacons whenever you go downstairs, and I will see you all tomorrow.